The day I randomly showed up and discovered his secret life. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. I showed up with takeout and heard him introduce himself with a different name. "Mr. Crane, your guests are here," the doorman said, like it was a normal Tuesday. I stopped so hard my sneakers squeaked on the polished stone floor. The Alder Point Tower's lobby smelled like lemon wax and expensive cologne. I was still in my RN scrubs, hair jammed into a messy bun, 2 paper bags of pad thai sweating through the bottoms. Julian had texted me an hour earlier. "Long day. Might crash early." That was it. No address. No come by. Just the kind of message you send when you don't want follow-up questions. Except he'd left his keys on my kitchen counter that morning. And I'm the kind of person who fixes the small practical problem first, even when my gut is screaming about the big emotional one. So I'd driven across the city after my shift, determined to be sweet and normal. I'd even rehearsed the joke. "You owe me spring rolls for making me your personal locksmith." The doorman looked past me, not at me, like I was a delivery app with legs. I said. "I'm here for Julian." His eyebrows twitched. "Unit 19B. Mr. Crane." I did this weird half-laugh. "No. Julian. Julian." I almost said his last name, then realized I didn't even know if I spelled it right. He'd always brushed past that stuff with a smile. "Paperwork is boring, Harps." My phone buzzed. Not from Julian. A low battery warning. I slid it into my scrub pocket and, without thinking, hit voice memo. Just a nurse habit, like documenting before someone rewrites reality later. The elevator chimed behind the doorman. A cluster of people stepped out, 2 men in suits, a woman with a tablet, and Julian. But not my Julian in worn jeans and soft hoodies. He wore a charcoal suit that fit like it was tailored onto him, his hair slicked back, his smile sharp and practiced. And there, on his left hand, was a simple gold band that caught the lobby lights. Then the elevator chimed, and Julian stepped out wearing a wedding ring. If you'd asked me a week earlier, I would have sworn Julian was the safest choice I'd ever made. He was the guy who stocked my fridge when I got slammed with double shifts. The guy who didn't flinch when I came home smelling like antiseptic and exhaustion. When my dad was in the hospital last year, Julian sat with me in a plastic chair for 6 hours and played crossword puzzles off his phone so I wouldn't spiral. He learned my routines. He remembered my coffee order. He knew my "I'm fine" meant the opposite. And he was good, almost too good, at making other people adore him. My coworkers called him the unicorn boyfriend because he actually showed up to my hospital fundraiser and didn't act like it was torture. He shook hands, thanked donors, listened when the ER doc rambled about a motorcycle accident. That's the version of him I kept in my head as I stared at the ring. My brain tried to protect me. Maybe he wears it for a role. Maybe it's his dad's. Maybe it's a cultural thing. I was coming up with excuses at the speed of panic. The tiny detail that should have warned me earlier came back like a slap. He never let me handle his wallet. Not once. If I reached for it, playfully, even, he'd catch my wrist gently and say, "Careful. I've got everything in weird order." Then he'd distract me with a kiss or a joke or an exaggerated sigh like I was adorable for trying. I told myself he was private. Lots of people are private. But privacy isn't the same as secrecy, and I was suddenly standing in a lobby where he had a different name. Julian's eyes swept the room, then landed on me. For half a second, his face did something I'd never seen before, like a curtain dropped and I saw the empty stage behind it. He walked toward me fast, too fast, and his smile clicked on late, like a light with a faulty switch. "Harper," he said, voice low. "What are you doing here?" I lifted the takeout bags like a confused offering. "You left your keys." His gaze flicked to the doorman, then to my scrub pocket like he could sense the phone recording. He put a hand lightly on my elbow, steering me away from the desk. "You didn't text," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "And they called you." "Crane." Julian's grip tightened, still gentle enough to look loving, but firm enough to control where I stood. "Not here," he murmured, the words barely moving his lips. His smile snapped into place too late, and he whispered, "Why here?" He guided me toward the parking garage door like we were just a couple heading out for dinner. "Hey," I said louder now. "Julian. Explain." The woman with the tablet glanced up. One of the suited men paused mid-step, watching us with polite curiosity, like I was an unexpected variable in a plan. Julian leaned close, breath warm at my ear. You're tired. Go home. We'll talk later. That word, later, hit me like a shove. The same way patients say it when they're hiding something. The same way families say it when they don't want the truth said out loud. My name is Harper, I said, because suddenly I needed anchors. I'm not a hallucination. Who is Crane? His jaw worked. It's a client thing. A client thing with a wedding ring. He swallowed, eyes scanning. It's not what you think. That line. That exact cliché. And it came out of his mouth like he'd practiced it. We reached the parking garage entrance. The air changed. Cooler, damp concrete, tire rubber. He stopped beside a column marked B2 and finally let go of my elbow. Harper, he said softly, like he was calming a spooked animal. You can't be here. Can't. I repeated. Or shouldn't. He took a step closer. Please. I'm asking you. I felt my phone against my thigh, recording everything. I didn't even know why I kept it running, except that some part of me already understood I was going to need proof. Not feelings. Proof. Give me a straight answer, I said. Are you married? His eyes flashed, annoyance, then something colder. No. That ring says yes. He lifted his hand, like he'd forgotten it was there. Then, with a smooth motion, he slid the band off and tucked it into his pocket. Like it was nothing. Like I was supposed to accept that. Okay, I said, voice shaking. Then whose name is on 19B? He stared at me for a long beat, and I watched him decide what version of reality he was going to sell me. Mine, he said finally. Legally. For now? For now. I echoed. Julian, what does that mean? His phone buzzed. He glanced down, and whatever he saw made him go still. Then he said, very quietly, you need to leave before she comes down. She was all it took to crack the last bit of denial in my skull. Who is she? I asked. Julian's voice went sharp. Harper, don't. I stepped back, eyes darting, elevator doors, stairwell, the suited men now pretending not to look. My heart pounded so hard it made my ears ring. I'm not leaving, I said, surprising myself. Not until you tell me what's going on. He exhaled like I was exhausting him. Fine. Give me the bags. Go sit in your car. 10 minutes. No. The elevator dinged in the garage, a different bank of doors near the resident parking. Julian's head snapped toward it. A woman's laugh floated out, high, confident. Julian swore under his breath. I moved without thinking, slipping past him toward the resident mailbox wall. Rows of brushed metal. Names in black. Unit numbers. I scanned for 19B. And there it was. 19B, E. Crane. Not Julian. Not any last name I'd ever heard him use. A small white envelope was wedged under the mailbox flap like it had been forced in. The corner stuck out. No stamp. Hand-delivered. I pulled it free. My fingers shook so much I almost tore it. On the front, in block letters, it said, Final notice, payment demand. Date, 08/14. Amount, $24,870. 12. Inside was a single page with a logo at the top, something official looking, and a line that made my stomach drop. Defaulted guarantee agreement. Elliot Crane. Elliot. Not Julian. Behind me, the woman's heels clicked on concrete. Jules? She called, like she owned the syllables. Julian lunged toward me. Harper, give me that. I held the paper up between us, like a shield. Who is Elliot Crane? His eyes locked on the notice, and for the first time, he looked scared. Then the woman rounded the corner and said, Why is that nurse holding my husband's mail? I stared at her and felt my brain try to split into two separate realities. She was about my age, maybe early 30s, hair glossy, blazer sharp, the kind of person who looked like she belonged in a lobby with lemon wax. She held a little girl's hand, maybe 5 years old, pink sneakers, unicorn backpack. The kid blinked up at me, then at Julian, then smiled like she recognized him. Daddy, she chirped. My throat closed. This wasn't a messy hookup. This was a life. Julian's face went blank. Not panic now, control. He stepped between us like he could physically block the truth. Marina, he said evenly. Go back upstairs. Marina's eyes flicked to my scrubs, to the takeout, to the paper in my hand. Who are you? I couldn't speak. My mouth kept forming words that wouldn't land. Julian turned to me, voice low, tight. Harper, this is not the place. Marina's grip tightened on the kid's hand. Julian. Her tone sharpened. Answer me. He didn't. He looked at me instead, like I was the problem to manage. Something in me snapped, not into rage, but into clarity. I tucked the notice into my scrub pocket. My phone was still recording, warm against my skin. "I'm Harper," I said, forcing each syllable out. "I'm his girlfriend." Marina's face changed, confusion, then disbelief, then something like nausea. "That's impossible," she said. Julian finally spoke to her. "Marina, please." "Don't please me," she hissed. "We have a parent-teacher meeting at 6 and you." She stopped, looking at my bags. "Why is she bringing you dinner?" The little girl tugged Marina's sleeve. "Mommy, can we go home?" I backed up one step, then another. I wasn't brave. I was a nurse in a parking garage holding a default notice like it was a weapon, surrounded by strangers who suddenly felt dangerous. Julian's voice softened toward me. "Harper, go. I'll call you." I shook my head. "No, you won't." That was when I did the only thing my body understood. I walked away before I fell apart in front of them. I got into my car, locked the doors, and called my best friend with shaking fingers. Tessa answered on the second ring. "Hey, Harps. I think Julian is married," I whispered, "and his name might not be Julian." Tessa went silent for half a second, then said, "Okay, do you have proof?" I looked down at the notice in my pocket and realized I'd accidentally taken his mail on a recording. Then Tessa said, "Read me exactly what that letter says, word for word." We met at a quiet diner off the highway because Tessa insisted on neutral ground. "No going home," she said. "If he's a liar at this level, you don't go to your apartment alone." Tessa slid into the booth across from me, eyes scanning my face like she was triaging me. "Okay," she said. "Start from the beginning." I told her everything. Doorman, Mr. Crane, wedding ring, mailbox, the final notice. I pulled the page out and flattened it on the table between syrup stains and laminated menus. Tessa's gaze snapped to the amount. 24 grand, she muttered. "And it says defaulted guarantee. That's business debt." "I thought it was just cheating," I said, voice cracking. "But there's a kid." Tessa's jaw tightened. "This is bigger. And you recorded?" I nodded and played her the audio clip from my pocket. It was muffled, but clear enough. "Why is that nurse holding my husband's mail?" Tessa didn't flinch. "Save that. Back it up. Email it to yourself right now." I did, hands trembling. Sending it to a burner Gmail Tessa made me create on the spot. Then I tried to cling to the last thread of hope. "Maybe he's separated," I said. "Maybe it's complicated." Tessa gave me a look that could cut glass. "Harper, he told you his name was Julian." "Maybe Julian is a nickname." "Then why does the paper say Elliot Crane?" I swallowed. "I don't know." "Good," she said. "So we verify one simple fact." She pulled out her laptop like she'd been waiting for permission. "Any address on that notice?" There was Alder Point Towers, Unit 19B, and a return address for a company, Ridgewell Capital Partners. Tessa typed fast. "We search for Elliot Crane and Ridgewell Capital and see what comes up." My stomach churned as the search results loaded. Corporate profiles, a few mentions, nothing solid. Then Tessa found a PDF, some kind of filing notice. "Look," she said, tapping the screen. "Here, a UCC filing. That's public." I stared at the document, eyes skimming for anything familiar. It listed a debtor, Crane, Elliot, and under collateral, medical devices, inventory, receivables. Medical devices? My mouth went dry. "I'm a nurse," I whispered. "Why is he tied to medical equipment?" Tessa's voice dropped. "Harper, what if he's using you without you realizing?" Then my phone lit up with a call from an unknown number. I didn't answer at first. I just stared as it rang, the diner's neon sign reflecting in the screen like a warning. Tessa nodded once. "Put it on speaker. Record it." I hit record on my phone again, then answered. "Hello." Julian's voice filled the booth, smooth like nothing had happened. "Harper, thank God. I've been calling." "What's your name?" I asked. A pause, tiny, practiced. "Julian." "Say it again," Tessa mouthed. "My legal name is Elliot," he said quickly. "I was going to tell you. I swear." "Why didn't you?" My voice sounded like someone else's. "Because it's complicated." He sighed. "I can explain everything, but not over the phone." "Are you married?" I asked. Another pause, longer. "It's not like that." Tessa leaned forward, eyes hard. She scribbled stall on a napkin. I forced myself to speak evenly. "Then what is it like?" His tone sharpened by 1 degree. "Harper, you took mail that doesn't belong to you." My blood went cold. You're threatening me? I'm asking you to be smart, he said. Meet me. Tonight. Alone. Tessa shook her head so violently her ponytail whipped. No, I said. If you want to talk, you can talk with a witness. Silence. Then Julian's voice turned gentle again, like he was petting a dog back into obedience. You're tired. You're overwhelmed. You're letting your friend poison you. Tessa mouthed, gaslight. I'm going to verify some things, I said. You don't need to. His voice went flat. Drop it off and walk away, Harper. For your own good. The line clicked dead. For a moment, all I could hear was the diner's coffee machine hissing. Tessa exhaled. Okay, we're doing the breadcrumb trail. We drove to Alder Point Towers at dusk. Tessa stayed in the car while I walked in like I belonged, shoulders squared, badge clipped to my waistband like it was armor. Mr. Alvarez was behind the desk this time, salt and pepper hair, tired eyes, the kind of face that had seen too many people lie politely. Hi, I said, forcing a smile. I'm looking for Elliot Crane. Mr. Alvarez hesitated, just a flicker, and that flicker told me everything. Then he said, quietly, You're not the first woman to ask. That sentence hit harder than any screaming match could have. I kept my voice calm because my hands were already shaking. What do you mean? Mr. Alvarez glanced toward the security cameras, then lowered his voice. I mean, I've had to walk more than one person to the curb. My stomach flipped. How many? He didn't answer. He just rubbed his thumb along the edge of a keycard like he was sanding down his own guilt. I tried not to spiral into the obvious conclusion, serial cheater, two-timing professional. But Tessa's earlier words echoed. This is bigger. I took out the notice and slid it halfway across the counter, so only he could see. I'm not here to fight, I said. I'm here because something feels wrong. Mr. Alvarez studied the paper, then my scrubs. His shoulders sagged like he'd lost a private argument. Listen, he said. I can't give you resident info, but I can tell you what I've seen. I nodded. He leaned in. Elliot Crane pays 6 months at a time. Cashier's checks. Always from different banks. Different banks. He tapped the counter once, like punctuation. And he's got a storage unit. My breath caught. How do you know that? Because the storage facility calls here when they can't reach him, Mr. Alvarez said. And they always ask for Crane. Where? I asked. He hesitated again, then wrote something on a sticky note and slid it to me without looking up. Bayview Storage, Unit 4D. Why are you telling me this? I whispered. Mr. Alvarez's eyes flicked up, and there was a tired kindness there. Because last month, a woman came here crying with a baby on her hip, and he told me she was unstable. My throat tightened. Was she? Mr. Alvarez shook his head once. She didn't look unstable. She looked blindsided. I walked back to the car on legs that felt borrowed. Tessa took the sticky note like it was a live wire. Storage unit, she said. That's not romance. That's stuff. We drove straight to Bayview Storage. The office was closing, metal gate halfway down. Tessa flashed her brightest, I'm harmless smile and asked if we could just confirm if Unit 4D existed. The clerk shrugged. Sure. It's occupied. Under what name? Tessa asked, casual. The clerk read the screen. Crane. Elliot. I felt my pulse in my teeth. What's in it? The clerk laughed. No idea. But he comes by with boxes marked donation all the time. Donation? On the wall behind the clerk was a flyer. Helping Hands Medical Relief. Drop OFFS welcome. And the logo looked eerily similar to the one on the UCC filing. Then I noticed a familiar handwriting on the flyer's contact number. It was Julian's. Helping Hands Medical Relief. It sounded wholesome, almost corny, like something you'd donate old crutches to. Except the number on the flyer matched the number Julian texted me from when he said he was stuck at a charity warehouse. I'd teased him for being a secret saint. Now my skin prickled with heat sweat shame. Tessa pulled up the charity's website in the car. It was slick, filled with smiling photos of people in matching shirts. A board of directors section listed names, none of them Julian. None of them Elliot Crane. But the contact page had an email, J. Crane at helpinghandsomer.org. 2 identities, Tessa said softly. Julian with you, Crane with them. Why? I asked. Why do this? Tessa's voice went tight. Follow the money. The next morning, I went to my credit union on my lunch break, not because I thought the bank could reveal his accounts, because I wanted a paper trail of my own. I asked for a statement of every transfer I'd made in the last year. The teller printed it, stapled it, smiled politely. In my car, I flipped through the pages, hands steady now, because when I'm scared, I get methodical. And there it was. 6 transfers. Small enough to feel harmless at the time. $250. 0203, helping hands. $400. 03/18, equipment fund. $300. 05/07, emergency shipment. I remembered every one. Julian's gentle voice, his "we're short this month," the way he'd kissed my forehead like I was generous and good. I'd funded his secret life. Tessa's eyes went dark when I showed her. Okay, stakes just changed. What stakes? I asked, even though I already knew. If it's legit, he's a liar, she said. If it's not legit, you're a witness. That night, I did something I hated. I logged into the old shared laptop Julian had left at my place for Netflix. I guessed the password on the third try, my birthday, because of course it was. His browser auto-filled an email login I'd never seen. Crane at Ridgewelp. Calm. My finger hovered over the mouse like it weighed 100 pounds. Then I clicked, and the inbox loaded. The subject line of the top email made my vision blur. Medicare audit, immediate response required. I should have closed the laptop. I should have called a lawyer first. I should have done 100 smarter things. Instead, I read. The email chain was a mess of polite panic. Names, case numbers, deadlines. Attached PDFs. Words like billing irregularities and equipment delivery verification. I scrolled until I found something that didn't sound like bureaucracy. A forwarded message from someone named Marina Crane. Elliot, I'm not doing this again. If they come to the house, I'm taking Sophie and leaving. Sophie, the little girl. Not just a prop. Not just a cover. A family caught in the blast zone. My hands shook as I clicked another attachment, an invoice spreadsheet. Rows and rows of wheelchairs, oxygen concentrators, hospital beds, billed to addresses all over the state. I recognized one address. My hospital. I stared until the letters swam. Then I saw my own name in a notes column beside a delivery entry. RN Harper L. Verified. My chest went tight. I had never verified deliveries for any charity. I'd never signed anything. But my name was there like someone had typed it with confidence. Tessa's voice on speaker came through my panic. Harper, breathe. Screenshot everything. Don't forward it. Just capture. I took photos with my phone. Timestamps, headers, the audit subject line, the spreadsheet rows that mentioned my hospital. The evidence felt dirty, like it could burn my fingerprints off. Then my apartment buzzer rang. Once. Twice. A steady, patient press like someone who knew I was home. My phone lit up with a text from Julian. Open the door. We need to talk. Tessa's voice sharpened. Do not open it. I whispered, he knows. Of course he knows, she snapped. He's been controlling narratives his whole life. The buzzer rang again. Then my door handle jiggled, just once, testing. I stood in my living room, heart thudding, gripping my phone so hard my knuckles ached. Harper, Julian called through the door, voice soft. I'm not mad. I just want my stuff back. My stuff, he said, like the evidence belonged to him. Tessa hissed, call the police. I hesitated, because calling the police felt like detonating my own life too. Julian's voice dropped, losing the warmth. I can make this really unpleasant for you. Then my phone buzzed with a new message, an unknown number this time. It was a photo. My hospital ID badge, snapped from a distance. I stared at the photo until my stomach turned to water. Someone had been watching me at work. Tessa didn't even ask. I'm coming over, she said, already moving. And you're calling a non-emergency line. Now. By the time the police showed up, Julian was gone, vanished like he'd never touched my door. The officer was polite but useless in the way that makes you want to scream. No threats in writing, he said. Hard to act on. I held up my phone. He sent a photo of my ID badge. The officer shrugged. Could be anyone. Tessa's nails dug into her palm. So what? We wait until she's hurt. I wasn't hurt yet, but I felt hunted. The next day, Mr. Alvarez called me from a blocked number. I almost didn't answer. Miss Harper, he asked quietly. Yes. His voice was strained. I shouldn't be doing this. But I saw something this morning, and I think you should know. I went cold. What did you see? He swallowed. A courier dropped off a package for Crane. He wasn't home, so I put it in the back office like we do. And I didn't open it, Mr. Alvarez said quickly. But the label tore. Just a little. and I saw the corner of what was inside. My pulse pounded. What was it? A stack of IDs, he whispered. Not one. Like a whole bunch. Different names. Identity fraud. Not just shady billing. An entire pipeline of fake people. I squeezed my eyes shut. Why are you telling me this? Because I remembered your scrubs, he said. And I remembered the baby on hip woman. And I remembered him calling her unstable. My throat tightened. Can you prove it? There was a pause. Then Mr. Alvarez's voice dropped even lower. I took a picture of the label before I taped it back. He texted it while we were on the phone. A shipping label, zoomed in. Return address, Ridgewell Capital Partners. Recipient, Elliot Crane. Contents description, half torn, but readable enough. Blank card stock, PVC photo ID supplies. Tessa stared at the screen when I showed her. This isn't messy, she said. This is organized. I nodded, finally feeling something besides fear, anger with direction. If I go to the police with this, I said, they'll ask how I got it. Then we don't start with police, Tessa said. We start with someone who can validate the documents without blowing you up. She slid a business card across my coffee table. Attorney Sloan, white collar / compliance. I picked up the card, hand steady now. And as I did, my phone buzzed with a calendar invite I didn't recognize. From M. Cranat. Subject, family dinner. Tonight, 7 p.m. A family dinner invite from a Marina Crane email address felt like a trap with a ribbon on it. Tessa wanted me to ignore it. Attorney Sloan wanted me to document it. My body wanted to crawl under the couch and become an object that couldn't be lied to. But Sloan's first question, when I met her in her office that afternoon, cut through everything. Do you believe there are other victims? She asked. I pictured the baby on hip woman, the stack of IDs, the spreadsheet with my hospital's address. Yes, I said. Sloan nodded once. Then you don't confront him alone. You create a controlled moment where he can't rewrite the story. She laid out the plan like it was a medical protocol. Gather, verify, expose, protect. Step 1. Sloan called a contact at Ridgewell's registered agent office and confirmed the company existed, and that Elliot Crane was listed as an authorized signer on multiple filings. Step 2. Sloan printed the UCC filing, the audit email headers, my bank transfer records, and Mr. Alvarez's label photo. She made 2 copies of everything and sealed one in an envelope marked Do Not Open, evidence. Step 3. You attend the dinner, she said. But you do not accuse. You ask questions. You record. And you bring a witness. A witness? I asked. Sloan's eyes flicked to Tessa, who'd refused to leave my side. Her. Tessa lifted her chin. Gladly. We arrived at Alder Point at 6:55 p.m., dressed like we weren't terrified. The high-rise lobby looked the same, perfect, polished, and different. Mr. Alvarez met us near the elevator, face pale. He's upstairs, he murmured, not meeting my eyes. And oh, she's there. The elevator ride felt like descending into someone else's life. Unit 19B opened into a home that wasn't mine. Framed family photos, kids' drawings on the fridge, a vase of fresh flowers like a staged apology. Marina stood in the living room, smiling too brightly. Julian, Elliot, stood beside her with that same calm mask. Harper, Marina said, voice syrupy. Thank you for coming. Julian's eyes locked on mine. His smile didn't reach them. Let's eat, he said, and the way he said it sounded like let's end this. As we sat down, Marina set a plate in front of me and said, So, how long have you known my husband? I kept my voice gentle because rage was what Julian expected. Calm was what scared him. A little over a year, I said. Marina's smile twitched. A year. She repeated it like a taste she didn't like. And he told you his name was Julian. Julian's fork scraped the plate. Marina. She cut him off. No. I invited her. I get to ask. Tessa sat beside me, phone face down, but recording. I could feel the vibration of my own phone in my pocket, voice memo running like a heartbeat. Marina looked at me, eyes glossy but sharp. Did he ever ask you for money? I swallowed. For charity donations. Julian exhaled, almost a laugh. This is absurd. Attorney Sloan's voice came from the speakerphone on the table. Marina had agreed to have a professional present, which told me she already suspected what she was married to. Mr. Crane, Sloan said evenly. I have a few questions about Ridgewell Capital Partners and Helping Hands Medical Relief. Julian's gaze snapped to the phone. His posture tightened like a door locking. Sloan continued, calm as a scalpel. Ridgewell is listed as a secured party on a UCC filing dated June 2nd. The collateral includes medical devices and receivables. Can you explain the nature of that collateral? Julian smiled. That's business. It's complicated. Sloan didn't flinch. Not complicated enough to excuse a Medicare audit notice dated August 14th. Marina's head jerked. Audit. Julian's mask slipped for half a second. Just a crack, a flash of fury. Then it smoothed. Harper stole private emails, he said, voice turning righteous. She's unstable. She's obsessed. This is harassment. The word unstable landed like a stone. Mr. Alvarez's earlier confession echoed. He told me she was unstable. Marina's hands curled into fists. Don't you dare, she whispered. Tessa slid my printed bank transfers onto the table. These are her transfers, she said. Dates and amounts. You used her. Julian's eyes flicked over the pages, calculating. Small donations. Voluntary. Sloane's voice stayed level. Then you won't mind explaining why a billing spreadsheet lists RN Harper L as verified for deliveries to her hospital. Silence. Julian's jaw tightened. That's a clerical error. I pulled out my phone and placed it on the table. Then explain this, I said, and hit play. The audio crackled. Why is that nurse holding my husband's mail? Marina's breath hitched. Julian's eyes went dead. Then the front door opened, and a woman I'd never seen walked in holding a baby. She looked exhausted, not dramatic. Hair pulled back, spit up on her shoulder, eyes red like she'd cried until there was nothing left. The baby bounced on her hip, drooling calmly, unaware. Julian's face changed. Genuine panic, finally. No, he breathed. Marina stood so fast her chair hit the floor. Who are you? She demanded. The woman's voice shook but didn't break. My name is Kayla, she said. And he told me his name was Jonah. Tessa sucked in a sharp breath. Kayla's eyes flicked to me. You too? She whispered, like she already knew the answer. Julian snapped. You're not supposed to be here. Kayla laughed once, raw, bitter. I wasn't supposed to exist, right? Just like the IDs you print. She dug into her diaper bag and pulled out a folder, bent, worn, held together by sheer desperation. She slapped it on the table. Inside were photocopies, driver's licenses with Julian's face and different names, delivery receipts, a printed email thread. Marina's hands flew to her mouth. Elliot, what is this? Julian tried to grab the folder. Kayla yanked it back. Don't touch my proof. Sloane's voice, still on speaker, tightened. Kayla, did you report this? Kayla shook her head, tears spilling. I tried. They told me I needed evidence and a lawyer, and she looked at Marina. He said if I talked, he'd call me unstable and take my baby. Marina's face went white. I felt my body go cold in a new way, not fear for myself, but fear for every person he'd ever cornered with that word, unstable, like it was a muzzle. Marina's voice was barely a whisper. Is Sophie safe? She asked Julian. Julian's eyes darted, searching for the best angle. Marina, listen. No, Marina said louder now. You listen. Tessa slid her phone toward Kayla. We can back up everything, she said. Right now. Julian's gaze snapped to me, and there was no charm left, only threat. You think you're a hero? He hissed. You have no idea who you're poking. My voice surprised even me. I know exactly what you are. Marina picked up her own phone with shaking fingers and said, I'm calling the police. Julian lunged toward her, and that's when Mr. Alvarez appeared in the doorway. He wasn't alone. 2 uniformed officers stepped in behind him. Everything after that moved fast, like a code blue with paperwork instead of blood. Julian tried to talk his way out, smooth voice, wounded expression, the whole performance. But Kayla's folder, Mr. Alvarez's label photo, my bank records, and the recorded audio created a wall he couldn't charm through. Marina sat on the couch holding Sophie, rocking slightly, eyes fixed on the floor like she was trying not to shatter. When an officer asked if she felt safe, she didn't answer. She just tightened her arms around her daughter and nodded once, small. I gave my statement at the police station that night with Tessa beside me and Sloan on speaker. I handed over screenshots of the audit email headers and the spreadsheet line that used my name. The officer's eyebrows rose when he saw the Medicare mention. This goes to a task force, he said quietly. This isn't just domestic drama. I thought that would make me feel relief. Instead, It made me nauseous, because it confirmed what my gut had known in the garage. I hadn't stumbled into a messy relationship problem. I'd stumbled into a system. Over the next week, people picked sides the way they always do. A couple mutual friends asked if I'd misunderstood. One person told me I was ruining a family. I deleted numbers without replying. Marina texted me once. I'm sorry I said unstable in the garage. He taught me that word. I stared at it for a long time before typing back, protect Sophie. That's all that matters. Kayla met me at the same quiet diner 2 days later. She looked lighter, like someone had taken a weight off her spine. She pushed a tiny USB drive across the table. More receipts, she said, in case he tries to vanish. I took it with hands that didn't shake this time. My practical takeaway is simple and ugly. If someone controls information, they're controlling you. Trust isn't a vibe, it's verifiable. Names, filings, addresses, patterns. If your gut whispers, don't argue with it. Document. 2 months later, I walked past Alder Point Towers on my way to work and didn't look up. But my phone still had that first recording saved in 3 places. And sometimes, when I needed to remember who I was, I listened anyway. Because the scariest thing wasn't his secret life, it was how easy it was to doubt mine.